This is just a quick rundown. Gunther won King of the Ring. Nia Jax won Queen of the Ring. Of course, Cody Rhodes defended his title successfully. Sami Zayn defended his title successfully. Liv Morgan is now the new women's champion on Raw. She beat Becky Lynch. And on the pre-show, Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair defeated Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. And no surprise there. But, man! I was one pick away from a completely correct predictions. I had Randy Orton win the King of the Ring. He let me down. WWE shocked me. But first, let's talk about the King and Queen of the Ring winners. What are your thoughts? Did WWE make the right choice with Gunther and Nia Jax?
Dude, you were almost the guru, man. You had the hat going and everything, the fortune telling. But yeah, no, I think a lot of people were with you on that, and kind of they threw a swerve with Gunther winning. Not that he's not deserving. Gunther has been on a hell of a tear the last few years. Definitely not upset that he won the King of the Ring, but I think a lot of people were expecting Randy, more so for what would be to come. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That the potential SummerSlam main event with Cody would have been, a ready-made story given their history and their legacy, pardon the pun. But it seemed like it was the way to go. But Gunther winning it, can't be mad at that. You kind of. And that paints an interesting road for him too, because you kind of see the writing on the wall that maybe this is the next step for him. Because Damian, as much as we love him, the championship win was more of a thank you for the fine work that he's been doing. I don't think anybody's foreseeing him being a long-term champion. And if Drew happens to win, that's where it gets a little interesting. With the match that was announced at Clash at the Castle, but Gunther is really setting himself up to be maybe the next world champ. It could realistically happen at SummerSlam. And Nia winning, I love it. I love the pick. I think a lot of people saw that happening. Her beating Bianca was a really big feather in her cap. And Lyra, I want to say I love Lyra Valkyria. Loved her work in NXT. Love how they presented her so far on the main roster. Kind of presented her as kind of a big deal that could make some waves. The perfect foil for Nia in this match, but it was Nia's match to lose. And yeah, I love the pick of her as the queen. I love the jerk speech afterwards. Kind of not take your congratulations and stick them somewhere else. I love her character. She's been tremendous, and I think she was the right choice for queen for sure.
Yeah, it's part of why I picked her. It just there's nothing really for Bianca to gain in this. Nia's been really good for a long time since her return. She's been much more she's been better in the ring, good on the mic. It just speaking of deserve, like she deserved it. That said, I not an avid NXT watcher and viewer and stuff like that. You much more than I am. I've been really impressed with Lyra Valkyria. Like she has a great look. That match was really entertaining, really good match, different styles, and Lyra did a really good job with a veteran who it's always an interesting thing in trying to be in there with a big person and a powerhouse like that. But so since that was more predictable, I'll talk about. I was really surprised by the Gunther thing, and again, in my predictions on Ringside, I mentioned all the signs were there that Gunther probably would be the guy that wins, but then they made the announcement about that the winner gets the champion of their brand at SummerSlam, and Gunther versus Damian Priest doesn't have a lot of sizzle to it just because they're two heels, and they may still do Cody versus Randy. They even kind of had a little moment on SmackDown, so they may be going that way anyway, but I was surprised by that. But yeah, Gunther, they've been building towards him being one of the main guys for quite some time. I thought it probably would have hurt him a little bit if he lost to Randy, but still it's in the finals. But that wasn't the case. He gets the win. Surprise! They have two bad guys win it. Not bad choices at all. Two fantastic performances and stuff like that.
And if I may, you touched on something really interesting, that the ending to the match, it really does leave it open to a potential Randy Cody thing, because people thought that Randy's shoulder was up. I'm not sure if that was part of the finish or not, but that can be addressed, and that could be a way for them to pivot to Cody versus Randy, kind of deserving that shot anyway. So it's definitely open for sure. You definitely touched on that. It's true.
And you mentioned it a little bit too, and that's where we're going next. Like, should Damian Priest kind of be worried? I would be surprised to see Damian Priest. I think Damian will get past Drew at Clash of the Castle, which they announced during King and Queen of the Ring, just because Drew just won a couple months ago. I get what you're saying, but it would seem like such a waste for Damian to lose already. But I just feel more likely we're probably going to have another Punk interference and to set up that match at SummerSlam, which I hope is what the plan is, and that's just such a big match, and that's fascinating too. But yeah, I just don't like his chances against Gunther. It just feels like that's not gonna like he's not gonna win. I'd love to see the surprise. We're both fans of him being a Hispanic man from New York, just like us. So, what are your thoughts? Should Damian Priest be very worried? Like, is his reign likely to be done in August?
I think so. I'd be worried if I were him. The story that they've been telling with Judgment Day, kind of, having cracks in the foundation.
Yeah.
That kind of, the tea leaves are there that it might not be the longest reign just for that reason. That might be his story heading into SummerSlam. Not to say that it'll happen. And honestly, I would love to see Punk cost Drew again in his hometown and have Drew go absolutely nuclear with the reaction. But honestly, I think Drew's going to get the hometown win and get the title there. Even if it doesn't happen there, I'm wondering if between Clash at the Castle and SummerSlam, there is another event there. If there's somebody that might be able to take the title off of Damian there, like they already kind of, used up Jey Uso's shot. That would have been my pick, but yeah, I'm really not sure where that is. But I don't think I love Damian Priest. Nothing against the guy. I love his work, and he absolutely deserves this reign. But something about it just doesn't scream like it's going to be long term. I don't see it getting past SummerSlam if it does go him and Gunther. But I honestly see him losing it sooner and them setting up a more interesting match for Gunther. I don't think Damian's reign is going to be very long at all.
Yeah, the Drew. That's another element of the Drew thing that makes it so unpredictable. Just because they had Clash the Castle last year, he was the main event. He lost that too. It would be surprising for back-to-back main event losses. Yeah, that's a tough one to predict too. And in hindsight, I mean, just looking at let's say Damian can make it to SummerSlam. That's still not terrible. April, May, June, July. Close to maybe 5 months, maybe not all the way, but a little bit over 4 months as champion. That's still pretty good. For a reign. And plus for me, I'm very much in favor of these shorter reigns. I'm kind of over it. I don't need a year plus reign for so many people. We've seen so many of those reigns. I'd be completely fine 3 or 4 month reigns. And plus, there's just so many deserving people. I'd like to see AJ Styles be champion again. That's not for me, but I'm sure a lot of people that like to see Randy Orton get closer to John Cena and Ric Flair and their record. There's some mentions you want to see John Cena beat the record. I'd love to see Kevin Owens get another chance at being champion. So I'd like to see some of these shorter reigns just for those reasons. But final thoughts, like, was there anything that was a big surprise that you were happy with? Overall thoughts on the matches and just the card in general in Saudi this weekend?
I love Liv Morgan winning. I love the fact that you picked that correctly. I think that was the right call. We were worried about that a couple of podcasts ago, how, putting the belt back on Becky was that maybe, the boring choice. But the only caveat we had is that if this sets up a win for Liv, then that's perfect, and that's what ended up happening. And, no sign off of Becky. It was, Dom's interference, which was hilarious every time he shows up. They did it the right way, and now Liv gets to brag a little bit more. Her revenge tour is ongoing. Love to see it. Love the character work from Liv, and it sets up the obvious clash with Rhea when she comes back. This gives Liv a nice, decent amount of time to have a reign, have a few challengers, have some fun matches, and then Rhea come and just wipe the floor with her like everybody's hoping that she will. Whether that happens at SummerSlam or down the road, depending on Rhea's injury, that remains to be seen. But right call, putting the title on Liv, and I think she's going to be a fantastic champion, just bragging all day long on Monday night. So I love that choice.
And it's funny, too, because if you missed it, this week they announced that SummerSlam in 2026 is going to be in Minnesota, and it's going to be a 2-night event, just similar to WrestleMania. But, man, this year's SummerSlam, which I, again, will be at, my first time at a SummerSlam, my first in-person WWE in, 20 years, is shutting up. Man, has a lot of possibilities. This could have been a 2-nighter. You probably think, Rhea and Liv might be back in time for that. You might have Punk and McIntyre, and Cody and Orton, maybe if they still do that or not, or Gunther and Damon. A lot of good fights, a lot of good matchups. Yeah, and my final thoughts is I was entertained. I enjoyed it. A lot of good matches, and let me just give a shout out to, I thought they had the chance to steal the show, and I felt they did. Sami Zayn, Bronson Reed, and Chad Gable, to me, was the best match on the card. Fun match, really cool stuff, how they did it, how they added the storyline with Otis and Gable, and then the finish, and how over Sami is there, which he gives them a unique star for Islamic fans, stuff like that, which is great.